Hey everybody, welcome back to my next part of my traffic surfing safety series. Today I'm going to be talking about how to bust your ass when you're going fast. Anyway, let's get right into it. So, the best way to stay safe in an accident is to not fall in the first place. This goes back to my last video of discussing the mindset, but just, having safety margins, being safe, and being more cautious in the first place. The best way to keep yourself from getting hurt is to not get hurt in the first place. It's better to be a little bit more reserved than to find out that you weren't reserved enough. Went a little too far with that one. So if you can't avoid it, accept that you're falling, accept that you're crashing. There's a certain point that I've had every single time that I've fallen where, I will always try to recover myself. I'll always, try to right myself, regain traction, whatever it may be, and prevent the fall. But I always turn a corner where it's like I'm going down. Now, this is like a very split second thing, but once it happens, you can't fight it and you're going down. When that does happen, the next thing, it's trying. For me, I try to relax. I try to relax and like dissipate the force as much as possible. The whole reason that cars have crumple zones, the whole reason, the way that helmets work, the way that your shoes work, the way that all these things work is that they elongate the amount of time that it takes in which the force is applied. So quite literally, think it is the difference between, a gentle caress on my face and squishes on my beard and getting slapped in the face, right? Those perhaps had the exact same amount of force, but because of how sharp that application of force is. Whoops, sorry if you're wearing headphones. I know this is, sorry, RIP headphones. Just by elongating the amount of force, it takes that pain away, takes that shock away, and that's how you break your bones and tear muscles and, so try and dissipate the force. Now, the way to do that, of course, as I began pointing out, is to roll, right? Now, this rolling comes, when you're hitting the ground, to try and roll, same thing if you're coming in contact with a pedestrian. I have only ever had to do this on 2 occasions, and both times, A, the pedestrian apologized to me for jumping in my way, and B, thanked me for how I handled the interaction. But roll, dissipate the force. If I'm hitting a pedestrian, if they're in my way, if it's unavoidable, get off the board first and foremost. Take a step off the board. Try and scrub off as much speed as possible, in whatever way possible. But I grab them, hug on, and allow myself to roll around them. It'll like keep them in place and roll my body around them so that they stay standing, and then I can figure out what to do next. So have contact, grab, hug, tuck, roll, turn around. Have my hand out and get ready to tuck and roll myself once I hit the ground. Now, with that roll, it's the most important thing of rolling, the most important thing of dissipating that force is to protect your corners. Now, what do I mean by that? You can see all my corners right here, like boo, 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 boo. Head, shoulders, knees, hands. So first and foremost, people, the first reaction, you want to throw your hands out, right? People throw their hands out, and with putting your hand straight out, especially if you have your arm locked, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get injured because you have all the force of your body through a rigid arm directly into the base of your palm. So it's likely you're going to fracture your wrist, break it, you can hurt your elbow, pop your shoulder out, break your collarbone, whatever it may be, and that's just if your hands hit the ground, right? If you have a direct impact of, your shoulder or elbows, same thing, especially because of how thin your tissues are in these areas. So when you roll, when I roll, I ride regular, so I'm going with my left side first. I always actually try to catch myself with my back hand first, because just by my body positioning, you can see if I'm going down onto the ground with my right hand first, see all the bend through here. And then also you have to think about my momentum, which is carrying me around this way. So it all just, goes in and guides up, right? So I put my right hand down first and absorb as much force as I can with my back hand before putting my front hand out. Right? It's a very quick 1-2. And then in the placement of my front hand, I, not putting it straight out because, the same thing, all the force going straight into my arm, but having it at an angle. By having it at an angle, that makes it so that I can, place my hands down, and start to curl, start to roll, just, tuck my whole body in. By having that, having my body in this place, it brings my elbow in, it keeps my shoulder up, it protects my face, and I'm much smaller, and I can just get focused on bringing my feet up and over me and just dissipating the force so I can just roll out of it. Next point to that, once you have rolled, once you've had the impact, and particularly if you're in traffic, get back on your feet, right? A little bit of life advice from Miles, if you fall, then get back on your feet and keep going. Woo! Really though, like if you're in traffic, hit the roll and get back on your feet. That's one of the big advantages also of rolling, that like you maintain that momentum, that it can pop you back up on your feet, before you know it. Of course, sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes it's not the best thing to do, but if you're in traffic, you don't know if there's a car coming up behind you, you don't know, what other people are going to be doing around you. So yeah, I find it's best to just get up on my feet as quickly as possible, and then usually, if that's the case, have to chase down my board before it gets run over. Anyway, that's just a quick little overview about how to crash, how to fall. Remember, dissipate the force, protect your corners, accept it's happening, and just roll with the punches. Bye.